Ever wonder why artists create their art? In this series, Crafting a Career in the Arts, The Art of Why, you will hear from Edmonton-based artists from a wide range of disciplines. These artists will share with you why they create, how they use their art form to maintain their mental health, help with a disability, or as a way to connect with their community. We will also feature some of Edmonton's locations and organizations that support the arts in our city. In this episode, Daniel Foreman, a multi-talented artist, filmmaker, and co-founder of the Edmonton Short Film Festival, discusses his creative drive. Then, the executive director of the Varscona Theatre discusses the importance of live theatre.
When she opens her eyes, a large gray wolf with piercing yellow eyes, Abka, is in the mirror behind her. Lisa's eyes open wide and she stifles a scream. Abka. These dreams will continue to haunt you, Lisa Cardinal, until you repay the debt of blood. Lisa. But I didn't do anything. I was just protecting myself. Abka. You are headed into the eye of the storm. Prepare yourself. Lisa spins around, and when she looks back, Castle, 21, is there. As filmmakers, we're here to elicit emotion. That's I think fundamentally that's what we want people to feel something. If you walk out of a movie and you don't care, the filmmaker didn't do their job. And it's if they want to be happy, you're a romantic guy, and this girl left Buddy because she was gonna do her dreams and he's heartbroken, then you feel that pain. My name is Daniel Foreman. I am a Metis career filmmaker from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I grew up in Malig, Alberta, which is right outside of St. Paul. It's a little farming community, which is really good for little kids, so I got the farm experience. And we moved to Edmonton when I was about 4. Had a lot of art around the house. My grandmother was a very famous painter in France and Madagascar. And my dad loved film. He would take me and my sister to shows at Victoria Composite High School. They have a big gymnasium and they have a theater there. And they used to show independent films way back in the 70s. And then my mom exposed me to French cinema. So I went to see French films ever since probably at the same age, 4 or 5. Between 4 and 10, I was exposed to a lot of independent Canadian and American film, as well as European film. And that's kind of what started shaping the way I look at film and my lens with everything. As far as writing goes, I started creative writing I remember grade 3, I remember one situation where the teacher said, pretend you're an alien and you're come to Earth and you're not sure what's going on and I want to see it from their lens, and I did something and she said, no, this isn't very good. Go back and do it again. And I was really upset, and I talked to my dad and he said, well, try to put your head in there and pretend that you're looking, pretend that you're this alien looking at humans. And I was like, okay. So I can remember writing, I said, and they had 5 fingers and they had 2 eyes in their head. And it was so weird because I had made them with 3 eyes in the back of their head and different fingers and stuff. But my teacher said, this is exactly what you need to be doing. You need to switch from being, just regular and just thinking things really linearly. But her idea was that I needed to think differently and just look at things from different angles. Well, I guess I'll start off professionally with what I do. I started off in marketing quite a while ago. And I really like marketing because you're looking at business from a creative viewpoint. You're creating press releases, you're doing graphic design, you're doing video, you're doing ads, you're doing commercials, you're doing all this really fun stuff. And then I started getting into graphic arts and more the e-commerce stuff about 20 years ago. I took a class in a place called Dev Studios, which is a really cool place. It was 24 hours and it had a big garage door, and we were working on Macs and we did real life stuff. We actually did a thing at the Fringe Festival. We created our project for them in 24 hours. And during that time, we also made a video. At that point, because I had edited it, we had done the music, I'd acted in it, I was like, I think I'm gonna pursue this. Now, having said that, I've been doing music videos for a while. I've been playing music, since the 80s. And in the 90s, we started creating music videos, not on film, but we used tape. And that's kind of probably where I really got the bug for making movies. I've always enjoyed them. I mean, as a kid, movies used to be magic. You know, when Superman first came out in Star Wars, it was like an event. And it was community, and people would go and celebrate together, and they would talk about movies afterwards. And that's what I grew up with, that magic. So I always looked at film like that, this magic. And I've tried to create that in my own stuff. I started on creating 16mm film. Fab had a really good class. It was 8 months long, and we learned all about the fundamentals of film, which once you understand the technical part, digital is a lot easier to understand. Because we were editing on reel-to-reels. So you have one reel that's your film, like your picture. You have one reel that's sound, like say your audio with your actors. You got one reel with sound effects, and then you got one reel with music, and then you're mixing all this together into a master reel. You're cutting on strips and you're taping it. It was a blast. I think that's when I really, really fell in love. And I thought, you know what, this is something that I want to pursue. But I wasn't sure whether I wanted to be a producer or a director. I knew I liked writing. But producing it's a lot of work, like a lot of work. Directing is a lot of work too, but you're more hands-on on set, and you're dealing with actors, and you're dealing with the crew, you know, and you're in post-production with the editor, and quite often a director will do a rough edit before you send it off to the editor, where they'll fine-tune it, depending on how good of an editor you are. I started off with guitar and a little bit of piano, and then gravitated towards bass, mainly because everybody wanted to play guitar at that time, and there was a lot better guitar players than I was. So I thought, you know, nobody wanted to play bass. And what's interesting about bass is it connects the drums, and it connects guitars, and it connects vocals. It reflects everything. I've been in a blues band, I've been in country, I've been a little bit of jazz, a lot of thrash. So I grew up with Metallica and Maiden and all this kind of stuff. As a bass player, I really like the technical stuff. And I decided that we need to market, you know, just to be a band, you're gonna get lost with everybody else. So you need to figure out how to elevate yourself, and if you want to get really good shows and you want to get paid, and you want to say, for instance, play at the Whiskey A Go-Go like we did, you know, you really have to hustle for that. And that's my business side. That's where my business acumen comes in really handy. My passion hasn't died with music, but it's definitely taken a second seat, just because movies are so all-encompassing. Once you start writing, then you get into directing, and then you're like, well, okay, now I got to produce this thing. Where am I going to get the money? And I got to figure out these contracts. And oh my God, we're working with unions, and we need locations. And where am I going to get my actors? It becomes this enormous challenge, and I love challenges, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Creative writing for most of my life. Mainly short stories. I wrote a children's book in 2003, and I worked with an illustrator on that. And then with film, all of a sudden I was like, I can make this story, and I can make it visual, and I can add sound, and I can use my business part to do all these other things, and I was really excited. So definitely it started off with creative writing, and then it went into screenplay. Now with my very first screenplay, I didn't write dialogue. I just wrote a story and with very vivid descriptions about everything, and I talked to the actors, and we winged it, which was not the best thing for me to do, because I had to ADR on film, which is, it was fun. I mean, it was a good experience. I'd never do that again. So then I realized I had to learn dialogue, how to write dialogue, and then properly formatting screenplays. So I started studying screenplay books and taking classes and just writing. I mean, that's the best way you're going to become a better screenwriter, is you just sit down every day and you just write, and you write and you write and you write. And there's many good books. I'm actually working on a book right now on how to write a romantic comedy, and it's a great outline, and fundamental lessons that it's teaching is actually making me a much better screenwriter on everything. I started off in comedy. And I like physical comedy. I grew up with guys like Peter Sellers, who I still find hilarious this day. And then I was looking into drama. I started in drama because I like the conflict in drama. And then we got into animation. Animation is a lot of fun. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money, and you really have to think things through. That's probably the biggest step for me as a director, was working with animators and just figuring things out. You have to be really, everything's specific. It's not like letting an actor and giving them leeway on doing stuff. This is exactly what's going to happen. This is going to be the background. These are the character actions. These are our models. There's a lot to it. And then came back to drama and action, and the feature film, which we're going to talk about. I wanted to do stunts, and we were very fortunate to have a very high-level stunt man come to us from Cochrane, and that brought our feature from this to. So I run 2 businesses with my production partner, Charlene Mulang. Those are Groove Soldier Productions and Treaty 6 Productions. Groove Soldier Productions is kind of our catch-all commercial music video, anything that's not Indigenous themed, which is Treaty 6. And we also run the Edmonton Short Film Festival, which is in our 11th year. And we're here to elevate Alberta independent short filmmakers. So Charlene Mulang and myself started the Short Film Festival in 2012. We had been having a hard time getting our short films screened locally, and we figured that we were probably not the only people. And sure enough, we sold out the very first festival. We were at Concordia University. It cost us a total of $800. We had the Edmonton Film Commissioner, we had the Alberta Film Commissioner, we had a little bit of media, and the Alberta Film Commissioner came to us after and he said, "We need this here. And, talk to me and we'll get you guys going." So we started developing that, and the purpose really of the festival is to elevate Alberta independent short filmmakers. At that time, there wasn't a lot of festivals for short films. It was all feature films. And we decided, in addition to short films, we were going to include commercials, we were going to include music videos, we were going to include movie trailers, anything that was a short form. And we wanted to help promote everybody. And then we started getting into education. And we started off doing panels. We would have people from different funding agencies and different government agencies. And then we started thinking about doing our own education. And we started the 48-hour mobile device film challenge. We had saw back in, I think this 2014, 2015, that things were shifting. There was such advances in technology and smartphones that you were able to literally make a movie with your phone. So I took it upon myself to start developing a curriculum and a kind of a lesson plan or a workshop on how to teach people how to actually make a short film with using story elements and using different advances that you could do with your phone that you couldn't do with a conventional camera. And then we had a 48-hour challenge after that allowed people to compete for Best Picture that was judged by a group of adjudicators, and Best Marketed. So we were teaching people as well that when you're done your film, that's not it. And especially now, because most broadcasters and most people, unless you're at a very high level, they're expecting you to market it. So we were teaching people how to market on YouTube and in social media, which is the best way for someone to do it for free right now. And then the best use of secret elements. And it's going to make you a better filmmaker when you learn how to make a film in 48 hours and figure out all the challenges that you have and learn how to plan. So we've been working hard on the educational thing, is that we have a few workshops during the year. We have a fall workshop as well, where we have speakers come in and talk about producing or directing, or in this case, we're going to be having a couple of stunt people come in and talk next October with us. So we believe pretty strongly in connecting with community and through our film work. For instance, with Abducted, it's about a serial killer that's been hunting at-risk women in the Edmonton area. And people don't know about that, and people will ask me, I was like, wow, I didn't know about this, And so we've got a little thing at the end of the movie where we talk about it and trying to get people talking about it, because with the media, what will happen when there's a rash of women that get killed, predominantly they're Indigenous, but a lot of them are street workers. It gets forgotten about, it gets swept under the rug. People are all upset for a bit and then it's gone. So we wanted to try to keep this elevated. And it's important. With Abducted, it was a concept, an outline that I had written quite a while ago when I took a feature film screenwriting class, and I hummed and hawed on it, and we actually did a trailer for it, and then we went really, really hard on developing it as a feature film. I think because we saw the potential for it. I had a lot of supernatural at the beginning, and I wanted the hero's journey. I always wanted to do a hero's journey story, and we were learning. We had done a lot of research on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and I kind of wanted to tie this into a dramatic setting, and there just wasn't enough time to do it in a short film. So that lent itself to being a feature film. And if I would have known how much work it would have been, I might have probably just done a short film. Abducted had a few themes. One of them was the power of family. We're as a society right now, I think we're losing a lot of family. Like, people generally, they don't sit and eat on a meal together. Everyone's kind of doing their things. The kids are on the phone. I wanted to really hammer that point that at the end of everything, you're going to have your family, you're going to have your best friends, but ultimately it's going to be your family. When you go through something really heavy, your family's going to be there for you. And I wanted to address that. So yeah, it's very important to me to do that. And and I do a lot of symbolism in Abducted. One of the things, like, I had a spirit animal in the wolf, and it was just, he was more symbolizing my character who was going to rescue his abducted sister as kind of a way that he's transitioning from being a boy to a man. Oh, I enjoy creating short films because I get to figure out my script. I get to tighten it up as much as I can with the message or the theme that I've discovered while I've been writing. The way that I work is I start doing drafts with an idea in mind, and then as I develop it, all of a sudden I discover the theme as it happens. So that's one of the things that I really, really enjoy is finding the theme inside of the work. Quite often it's surprising to me. And generally, I feel pretty good after I'm done writing. It's pretty cathartic for me. For the filmmaking part, filmmaking is so much planning beforehand and getting everything together and being able to be flexible when things don't go your way, when you lose a location. Like, for instance, in Abducted, we lost a lake location the day before we were supposed to shoot, and the lake location was incredibly important. And for some reason, I didn't panic. Charlene was panicking because she had to find another location, but we could have figured it out even if we wouldn't have got the primo location. It ended up actually being quite a bit better location than we got. So sometimes it's trusting in the process and just not getting too worked up about it and just surrendering. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is you have to surrender to the process. I think art matters for a number of reasons. You can see it with the city. They are supposed to put 1% of art, or 1% of their budget into art. And, some of the reasons it's because it makes our spaces better. It adds some humanity and adds beauty, I think, a lot of the times to things. For me personally, I think it makes me feel a different way. When I go, for instance, when I was in New York a little while ago, and I went into one of the museums there, and I went to the library, it was just blown away. And just at the art and the books, I consider books art as well. It just makes me feel like good. Like, if it's really powerful, and it's a really powerful piece of art or piece of music, it just touches you, and it can lift you up. If you're feeling down, it can make you feel really good. And if you're going through a hard time, it can help you go through that time. I think it's the most powerful thing we have. I would say art has helped me overall to help me heal. For instance, I wrote a children's book in 2002, and it was after a brutal business that fell apart. And one of my best friends, who I thought was one of my best friends, didn't care about me and my family. He just cared about the money. And it really messed me up. And I just started writing this book, and became a kid's book, and it was about just overcoming this kind of grief. And, with certain films, I was in a really rough spot in my life. We did a movie called A Seduction Spell. And this was back in 2013, I was having a really hard time with technology too. I could see where it was going with social media. I could see how it was influencing kids. They weren't talking with each other anymore. They had their headphones on and they were playing in their phones, and it still to this day really bothers me. And I decided to make a movie about that, and that kind of helped me process what was happening. Obviously, I can't stop technology from coming, but I could, say my thoughts about what it was through this, and it helped me, get in a better spot with it. Well, with short films, it's very condensed, and it takes a while once you figure out the structure of a short film. And generally, the way I teach people is shorter the better, if you can do that. If it has to be a little bit longer, but anywhere from about 5 to 10 pages. Each page is about a minute, so you're looking at about a 5 to 10 minute movie. And if you really condense and get to the point, you can do it. It's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to say what you want to say in that time frame, and I think that's one of the challenges I like about it, and one of the things that I really like about short films. So I'd done quite a number with Charlene, my production partner, with Groove Soldier Productions and Treaty 6 Productions. And we were fortunate enough to win Best Animation at American Indian Film Festival in November of 2018. And that enabled us to go on the Telefilm Talent to Watch program. So yeah, it's short films tend to lend themselves to short, concise ideas, while when you start dealing with multiple characters and multiple themes, that you're going more into feature land or TV series. And a TV series is a feature film across a huge arc, like seasons arc, which is one of the reasons why I'm very interested in television. So my process when I begin writing is I write an outline with beats on it, and then I will take those ideas and I will sketch them out longhand on a piece of paper. And then I will take that once I have something I'm happy with, and I will put it into a screenwriting program, and then I will start to sharpen it and tighten it up and start to connect it to other scenes. That's kind of the way my process works. A lot of people use Post-it notes and whatever, but the way that my mind works, I think of everything in my mind and then I write it down. So I really don't need Post-it notes. Maybe it'll help me at some point, but right now I don't need that. Oh, I've been working on Daughters of the Wolf for about 2.5 years. I would say maybe 1,000, 1,500 hours so far, maybe 2,000. So while I was writing Daughters of the Wolf, there's been a number of different emotions that have come through me, just mainly because of the sheer number of drafts and the amount of script consultants that I've had working with it. My evolution as a writer, I'd never done TV before. This is my first TV script that I've done. So there was that learning curve, which was pretty hard and pretty challenging, and I was a little bit I was not encouraged at the beginning. As I was learning this, it was difficult for me. And then as I went through, I was getting better, and I thought I was doing really well. And as I talked to the other script consultants, they were saying, this is good, but you could do way better. So then I had to, because you get high on yourself and you think, well, this is the best thing ever. And then when you have someone telling you that you can actually be better, you gotta put your ego down a little bit and go, okay, this isn't as good as it can be. And in Banff, specifically, when I took the screenwriting residency there, with the Right Over Here residency, I took a few leaps, and with that, my confidence grew quite a bit. I was dealing with people that were in the television industry who really helped me grow my craft and grow as an artist. And I suppose that the biggest thing that the way I've been feeling so far with this script is my confidence. I'm able to create a world. Each character that I've developed has their own voice, which if you've done any screenwriting, you see that it's really difficult to do that. The easy thing is your characters all start sounding the same and your world is kind of generic. And that was the biggest breakthrough for me. So I'm happy at this moment. It still can be better. I'm working on the whole season, and Yeah, I think it started off being challenging and struggling. And then as I've progressed, I've become more happy and more confident with it, as I can see that I can actually show run a series. Oh, the main reason why I do a lot of things is I'm very persistent. And I think it's from my folks. They're both like, if you're going to do something, do it really, really good. And as you get going, you think this is really, really good. And then all of a sudden you see somebody who is really, really good and you go, wow, I've got this big space to go. And some people get discouraged on that. The way that my mind works and the way I work is like, I want to be at that point and I want to be better. And so I guess it's ambition, and it's part of my personality. And it makes me happy. It makes me happy to be as good as I can be. The way that I create quite often is I get in a flow. I found it with design. All of a sudden I'd be working on something and it would be 10 hours later. Or I'd go in a music studio and we would literally come out 12 hours later and go, wow, it seemed like 2 hours. And with screenwriting, a lot of that is like that. I'll just sit there, especially if I get rolling and I'll figure out a scene that connects to another scene, because then I'll just, write that scene, and then you start writing another scene. And before you know it, it's 4 or 5 hours and I've missed whatever. So it's definitely, I try not to put timelines on it. In the morning, I have to, because I have to go to work and I have other responsibilities. But when I'm in the moment, it's definitely flow. And I actually study flow. There's a couple books by, I believe he's a German professor who lives in America, and he's wrote a couple books on flow. And it's more performance-based, but it can be applicable to being an artist as well. So I was part of a program at the Capilano University out of Vancouver called FILMBA, where they were teaching Indigenous producers business affairs. And they took the top students and paid an all-expense trip for us to go to Cannes Film Festival, where I got to experience the movie industry times a million. Cannes is a beautiful place. It's in by the Mediterranean in southern France. Tom Cruise had just been there. I seen him. He was doing Maverick, Top Gun, and they had billboards all over the place. And it's a huge town, and all the hotels are filled with agents. There's producers, there's some actors. That's when you see the business of movies. And it was an incredible experience. I had a lot of fun. It's one of those game changers, life changers, where you realize this is the business part. This is what they're doing. This is how they're making money. This is their life. Am I ready to make this jump to do this? There's 3 books that I grew up with. There's a trilogy, and it became another 8-book series, but it's called The Lost Book of Swords by Fred Saberhagen. And as soon as I read that as a kid, because I'd been a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and then I read this series, the first Book of Swords, second Book of Swords, and third Book of Swords, and it has gods in it, or the gods creating these swords, and they play games with these swords and with the humans, almost like a chess match. And I thought, this is like a movie. I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger even as a kid. I was like, he'd make the perfect Zeus. And I had figured out all this stuff, and I wanted to option the book. And, I talked to them, and they wanted $100,000 just to option the book. And I'm like, well, that's not very realistic, especially since no one's been buying this for 20 years. But she's like, nope, that's what we want. But that's been my dream since the mid 80s, probably, to make this thing into movies. So I'd like to option those books, and I'd like to see those books become successful again. I really think that it has the same potential that Harry Potter does. It's fantastic. The guy's a very visual storyteller, and it would translate to film so well. So that's what I'd like to do. My biggest piece of advice to any aspiring artist would be to find something that really makes you happy and do that. Like, work on it, become better at it, and probably have a day job so you can support yourself until you reach a point where you're able to make a living. If you're fortunate enough to make a living off it right away, that's excellent. But realistically, for most people, you're going to have a side project. And if you can be like myself and tie in your business side into your artist side, that works really well. if someone was looking at my material or what I've created 100 years from now, I would hope that they would feel the impact that I wanted them to feel. Like if an abducted, I'd hope that they're scared and there's suspense and they're on the edge of the seat and they leave the theater or the screen, wherever it may be, thinking about what they had just watched, and maybe sitting down with a friend of theirs, having a piece of pizza or a piece of pie, the way Quentin Tarantino used to like to do, and discussing it and say, this is really making me think. I really enjoyed this movie, and it's affecting me deeper than just kind of a two-dimensional thing. It's hitting me. It's hitting my emotional buttons. That would be a very big compliment.
Next, please join Kendra as she discusses how the Varscona Theatre supports the performing arts and the importance of live theatre.
My name is Kendra Connor, and I'm from Edmonton, born and raised. In fact, I grew up just a couple blocks away from the Varscona Theatre. I'm the executive director of the Varscona Theatre. I'm also an actor and a singer, performer, and a producer, and a director. I wear many hats, but my primary focus right now is executive director of this beautiful space. Our mission is to create a welcoming space for both artists and audiences to intersect. The Varscona Theatre has existed in some form since about 1986. This building used to be a fire hall in the 50s, and then around 1986, Brian Paisley turned it into a theater. It was called the Chinook Theatre at that time, and it became one of the original venues for the Edmonton International Fringe Festival. And in 1996, it was renamed as the Varscona Theatre. The theater was rebuilt in 2016. We did a massive gut job, so we kept the walls but changed the whole building around and made it into a really beautiful, awesome space for art to happen. Mostly we do theater here. Sometimes we do musicals. We have our 3 resident companies that do a variety of different kinds of work. All of it is theater. So we have Dynasty, the live improvised soap opera. They do improv. They come and do a brand new story every single Monday night at 7:30. We have Shadow Theatre. Shadow Theatre loves to work with local playwrights, Canadian playwrights, but they're really interested in telling emotional stories that really move people and also entertain. And then we also have Teatro Live, and their primary mandate is fun, entertainment, so they do a lot of shows that are comedies. Some of them are musicals as well. But we kind of really run the gamut. We have drama, we have comedy, we have improv, we have musicals. We kind of do a little bit of everything. We're one of the original venues for the Edmonton Fringe Festival. I think I can say that we've been one of the core venues for the festival throughout its history. Our theater was really born out of the Fringe. And a number of our core artists and resident companies that we work for were also, their careers were launched from the Fringe and then also from the Varscona stage. But the Fringe was a real great springboard for artists to come, because it was one of the first places for a number of artists where they could affordably create and produce art without a lot of the overhead that is involved with theater production. It can be prohibitively expensive to run a venue, to pay for the lights and the sound and the director and the costumes and the whatever. At the Fringe, it's all about you work for a split of the box office, and that's how it goes. So however many tickets you sell, that's how much money everybody gets paid. Now that I'm thinking about that, it's also one of the reasons why it's so important to come to the Fringe Festival and to see theater. Go to the theater at the Fringe Festival, because that's the money that goes to the artists, and it's really important to support their creation and their process. We're super busy during the festival, so we are jam-packed we do 8 different productions and about 6 different shows a day. So 6 shows a day throughout the entirety of the festival, and it's just continuous movement and turning shows over and resetting, and we're very busy. It's our busiest time of year. I feel that the Fringe is a part of Edmonton. I think that it's one of the most notable arts events that happens in our city. And it's such an important event that people in this city look forward to and that people from other cities know us for. And it's a huge supportive cheerleading event for Edmonton artists and also for international artists. But like our emphasis is here at the Varscona, we really prioritize local art and local artists, and the Fringe is a core part of that. For me, it's about vibrancy, adding vibrancy and excitement to Edmonton, making this place more vital, fun, exciting, cool place to live. I think that's a really important part of artistic spaces, is giving people more reasons to be here, more reasons to be in Edmonton and to love their city and to enjoy their lives. And that's what we do. Free art during the Fringe is important because it draws people to the Fringe site. For a number of people, it can be their first experience seeing live art, seeing live performance, and it's really cool that we have 10 days in August where everybody gets to come and experience that. We hope that it's also a springboard to coming to see shows in the theater when they can, but we also know that paying for theater tickets is prohibitive for some people, so offering free events during the Fringe Festival is really important because it makes it more accessible for everybody, which is a real goal for us here, and I think certainly for the Fringe Festival. My advice for new playwrights would be to meet artists in your community. Get to know the venues, get to know other artists, get involved in the scene, see as many plays in your community as you possibly can. It's all about getting to know people, getting to know the atmosphere and the vibe and the energy of the theater community where you live. And getting to know people also can be a springboard into future projects and whatnot. So I think network, get out there, network, meet people, and see plays. Introduce yourself, and don't ever be afraid to come and say hello. I really love running an artist-run theater. I think that is a part of the impact that the people that we work with are local. We've prioritized local artists and local work. I think we're really interested in developing our local artists and making sure that they have a platform for their work. And in doing so, I hope that the people that come to see it really feel like their lives are uplifted by having access to really great artists, but also really great artists that are from the place where they live. That's key. And like I said, it is truly about keeping artistic spaces vibrant and adding vibrancy and accessibility and walkability and fun to the daily lives of Edmontonians. So I really hope that through the support of our local artists and also through, creating a space for people to come and access really great art affordably, that we add value to the city of Edmonton.
So this particular scene, these two scenes, are from the pilot episode of Daughters of the Wolf, which is a 1-hour serialized television show. This is the last page in the teaser. Interior, rundown townhouse, bathroom, moments later. The upstairs bathroom is cleanly kept with a cracked mirror above the sink and an older tub and shower combination. Lisa is in full panic mode and locks the door behind her. She pulls out a stained manila envelope and props it up on the back of the sink against the mirror.